No, but how important the perception, what people are perceiving, will dictate what their life and ultimately what your interaction is.
For example, everyone perceives me as a sex symbol. Not much more.
You're right. You're not just a body. You're not just a body. There's a man inside. Go, it's a whole lot easier rather than letting the voices, oh my God, you know, the focus may not be as good as Enemy of the State, you know. And so, you know, rather than letting all those things come in, I just, you know, I like to leap.
And Denise, the balance of the intrigue and the romance, was that a struggle for you?
You know, it's not done very often, you know, that balance of those two things. And I think because our directors who are shooting a movie in Santa Fe right now, that's why they couldn't be here today, are so masterful. They're kind of the kings of, you know, combining tones of film, which they did in the film I did with them, Crazy Stupid Love, as well. But, you know, they had a really, you know, strong hold on that. And that was our goal, was to make something completely original. And I think that's the feedback we're getting from people, that, you know, we may have succeeded in that area. So it was hard, but I think we pulled it off, I think.
I'd like to say something about the question you asked, or one of the questions you asked Will. I said in one of my earlier interviews today that Will has one of those big personalities that when he comes into a room, he brings a lot of energy with him. But quite often when people like that come into the room, they suck all the oxygen out of it. Will brings an extra supply. He puts oxygen.
Very well said. And I want to add to that as well, because I was there every single moment of the shoot, and of the 60-day shoot, Will brought that every minute of every day. That positive energy was also generosity, as Mike was saying. And there was not a moment on this movie where he didn't make it the best place to be. It was really, which very grateful for that.
And that's one of the great things about working on this movie. I had an acting teacher years ago who observed that he found it very interesting that when people want to compliment an actor's work, they say he gave a good performance. And that's what Will does. That's what everybody up here does. They give a good performance. That's why it was so much fun working on this movie.
Hey, well, I love the movie too. Good to see you too. Two questions. One, as a little kid, we know you didn't do anything real bad, but did you ever steal anything?
I did some stuff.
And second, talk about these great love scenes, the great love scenes you did with Margot too. What stuff did you do?
But as a kid,
yeah.
You know, I was.
Remember the statute of limitations.
I know, right? 7 years is California.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been a jokester. Like the things I got in trouble for when I was little was always making a joke. It was always doing something, setting up a prank. Being silly when I should be paying attention, but it was very different with a focus. I'm so glad I didn't know these things. Oh my God, I'm really glad that I didn't know some of these things when I was young. I think that is my general disposition on life. What's funny about it? I can't. When something happens, the first thing that's in my mind is what's funny about it. And yeah, it's a little bit different than that when you can have the powers of manipulation.
The greatest con, of course, I think, is the fact that Margot has us believing she's gorgeous. So how do you do that? How do you do that? Tell us about your experience on this film. You're with all these guys who are possibly lying to you.
Yeah, no, I had a great time.
I've been the goofy kid, you know, growing up. I always enjoyed the comedic aspect of relating to women, and even on camera it was always the funny take on it. And this is, you know, one of the first times in my career was where, you know, it was full on, you know, steamy, just grown manness. And emotion, yeah, emotion. But it's funny because it's actually an uncomfortable space for me. I'm having to settle into that. My natural instinct is always when you set a moment in that way and it's really serious, that's the perfect time for the joke, right? So to be constantly pulled away from that and knowing to just live in the seriousness and the sexiness of a moment was a little uncomfortable for me.
Margot, how was it for you?
It was awful, but it's a tough job. But at the end of the day, someone's got to do it. So, no, it was great. Will made it very, very easy.
Great, thank you.
Hello guys, I want to ask you all your experience in Argentina. I'm from Uruguay, but it's the same culture. I know that we can be very passionate people,
Oh, yeah.
especially for Margot, you know, sometimes gentlemen, we can be like Italian on steroids. How was that experience?
We found that everyone in Buenos Aires was extremely passionate. They were exceptionally excited to see Will.
Oh my gosh.
So the first day of shooting was a little tricky. Do you remember that? There was like a wall of
Yeah,
people.
no, because I'd never been to Argentina. That was my first time. So it was a little, it was passionate. It was a good word. People were very, very passionate.
Very passionate.
And energized.
But there was such a vibrancy about that city, and we just had the best time. It was such an infectious sort of energy as well. So I hope it was kind of, seeped into the scenes a little bit, because we were definitely feeling it.
Can everyone comment on the 55 scene? I thought that
yeah.
was
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
sorry, you weren't in it, right?
No.
Yeah, well, you can, what you heard about
You
it.
can still
I mean, didn't he
Yeah.
start with that? That was just amazing.
The directors, I don't know how they came up with a lot of stuff in the Super Bowl. So many scenes in the film. They did a tremendous amount of research for about a year before they even wrote the script. And it was, the first time I read the script, I called them and I said, how did your brains not explode? How did you possibly figure all this out? It was really, really a tough screenplay to write and figure out, and then to shoot it and edit it, and the pacing of it and how they used music. It's, I really got to hand it to them. It was, I couldn't have imagined how well it was going to translate to the screen, but it was really because they spent a lot of time figuring it out.
But you two really looked like you were sweating up that 55 thing. I mean, it just...
Yeah, it was stressful. Even knowing what was coming at the end,
Yeah.
you just so stressed doing it.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, what's written, and I think that scene, that Super Bowl scene, is probably going to end up being the signature scene of this movie, and it's just so clever, and that was a part of the beauty of what Apollo brought to the film, and we say the word con, but it's so far beyond con. It is a deep and powerful perception of how the human mind works. It's human behavior, and those ideas. It's just so intriguing and exciting, And just as an actor, there's one scene going on, so you're playing one scene, but then there's another scene that's the real scene that's actually going on, and then beneath that is the audience is getting played in the scene at the same time. It's just,
Inception.
Layers
and layers.
And it's just such a great
hard to keep your head straight,
opportunity to be able to do that, to be able to be in. It's an honor to be in a scene like that.
And the football player, Adrian?
Yes, and to be on the hallowed ground of the Superdome. I mean, I love football. I've been obsessing with my Packers, but just to be there and in a scene like that, it was just a huge thrill. And how crazy beautiful is New Orleans too.
Oh my, yeah.
I mean, they really just took us in like family. It was awesome.
But did you ever think you'd play a football player?
I did not. I just, maybe a baker. But
this question is for anybody, but what's the craziest thing that y'all have betted on? Smallest thing, the craziest thing.
Oh, you remember you played poker?
Poker, yeah.
I won 10 pumpkins off Will
10 pumpkins,
in a
yes.
game of poker.
In a
So
game of poker.
I didn't know how to play, and Will was teaching me how to play poker, but we
Always a
quickly
mistake.
realized.
Always a mistake. And I was like, oh my God, the beginner's luck thing really is real.
Oh, it just kept
It is
rolling
real.
and rolling. I just kept winning. But
I was like, how's your first hand of poker a full house? Like,
we quickly realized that betting on with
no
money
draws.
wasn't fun
No
for us. So
draws.
what else did I win?
Ridiculous. You won 10 pumpkins. Well, actually,
It was coming up to Halloween, so
It was
I won
coming
10
up to, yeah, it was,
pumpkins.
it was a series of things, and I couldn't win a hand, and it was really frustrating.
Yes.
And she's
That was
like,
high-stakes
oh,
gambling
so
for
wait,
you."
it's 4? If you have 4, is that better than 3? Yeah, that's good. Of course, better than 5. It is.
Did you let Apollo play with you?
Oh, no.
He'd win every hand.
Yeah.
Cards are disappearing.
Margot, con artists take on a persona that make you believe things that aren't real. Is there a fine line between a con artist and an actor?
Yeah,
And also, Apollo,
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
and Apollo, are we more apt to be conned by somebody who looks like Margot than other people? Because we can be distracted so much?
Distraction, but also that trust too. You know, your expectation of what you think she is and what you think she isn't. And that's really the exploitation, right? The boundaries of what you think the person, where they end versus where they are much more than you thought they were. And that gives them the capacity to run a con.
My uncle's in your car as we speak. Because you wouldn't expect that from my family.
Can Margot answer?
No, I was saying earlier, I think it really kind of does go hand in hand with acting sometimes. It's a lot about emotional manipulation. And that's precisely what we do to try and evoke an emotion out of the audience members and make them emotionally invest in something. And that just raises the stakes. People care so much more all of a sudden. And if you can achieve that, your conning's going to work out a lot better.
I just do it to avoid real work. It's been a successful con.
Part of what was exciting for me about taking this role is how everybody's running a con, right? So every single person in here right now is running a con. We've chosen our clothes, we've done our hair, we've done what we think.
Don't make hair jokes.
No, sorry. We've done our hair or
Not.
No, but everyone wants to be perceived a certain way to gain the things that they have decided are the things they want in their life. And there's at the center of this film the idea that lying and loving don't go together, right? So until we are willing to actually show that we have warts and show that we're scared and show that we're not all the things that we are working so hard to be perceived as, until we're willing to let it all go and be authentic, that you actually can't have the very thing that you're doing it for, which is the love and connection with other human beings. So for me, that's what was so exciting. It's like, oh my God, everything's a con. Everything.
Well, speaking of perception, Will, why do focus, and what do you feel like you have riding on this, particularly after your last starring?
What the hell is that supposed to mean? This is ridiculous.
But with also a number of very high-profile movies coming up for you.
Yeah, you know what? For me, what was this film really marks a transition in my life and emotionally in my career. After the failure of After Earth, a thing got broken in my mind. I was like, oh wow, I'm still alive. Oh wow, actually I still am me, even though the movie didn't open number one. Wait, I still can get hired on another movie. Like all of those things in my mind, my entire, Mr. July, Big Willie Weekend, number one, 8 in a row, like all of that thing got collapsed, and I realized I still was a good person. So when I went into focus, I completely released the concept of goal orientation and got into path orientation. This moment, this second, these people, this interaction, and it is a huge relief for me to not care whether or not focus is number 1 or number 10 at the box office, I've already gained everything that I could possibly have hoped for from meeting the people that I met and from the creation of what we did together. And it's just painting. I'm going to paint, and some paintings are going to be fantastic, others are going to not be so good, but I no longer measure the quality of myself on whether or not somebody else thinks what I painted is beautiful.
Wow. Yes.